Hey ghouls, welcome back to the Book Crypt. It's Denise Marie Gay, author of the 24/7 Demon Mart series, and it's time for another edition of Ask Me Anything. Once again, you lovely ghouls, my readers, have written in with some of your questions, and I am here to answer them. And today we have a question from Josh. Hold on, I got my granny glasses. We're ready to go. Josh asks, you had once posted some resources for writers. Can you point me in the right direction? I take a crack at it once in a great while, but really I'd like to pass the info along to my daughter, who writes a lot and wants to make a living at it. Well, Josh, I have resources. I have resources, so many resources up to the ceiling that as soon as I stop recording, I'm pretty sure I realize that I forgot something, and I'll probably have to do a part 2. So, all right. What do I have for you, Josh? First, this is the first book that I bought when I decided that I wanted to write a novel. And don't be fooled. I do not think that anybody necessarily should force themselves to write a book in a month, especially a newbie. But I bought this. This is a companion to National Write a Novel in a Month, NaNoWriMo, you know, that book writing thing that's a thing. So it was originally made as a companion to that, but I am not abdicating that you necessarily do that. I like this book because it has a lot of resources on story structure, character development, story ideas, plots, that sort of thing. So it's a really good introduction to the structure of novels. So if you have never written a novel before, this will help you get started. So I like this. One of my other absolute go-tos is Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Now this is adapted from Save the Cat, which is a screenwriting guide. This is the novel edition. This is a very easy to use, easy to understand book about plot and story structure and 3-act structure. This book tells you kind of what needs to happen when to keep the plot moving along. So if you ever get stuck like in the middle of the book and you're like, how do I get to the end? This book has like step by step and has a lot of examples from movies. So I'm not saying that this is the end all be all guide. It's just a good place to start. Now, another one that I really like is the Nutshell Technique. And if you notice, this is also technically a screenwriting book. But as I said, there's a lot of crossover between screenwriting and fiction writing. So this is just another approach if you find that Save the Cat isn't quite doing it for you. Now, another story structure resource that I really like is John Truby's Anatomy of Story. Once again, it's just about story structure, character, where things go in plot, how to keep plot moving along. John Truby has another book called Anatomy of Genres, but that one is a big old chonker and it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're new. So if you're new, start with this one, see what you think, might help. And finally, one of my absolute favorites is Wired for Story by Lisa Cron. I love everything that Lisa Cron writes because this is a completely different way to view story and story structure. She's talking more about like the brain structure of humans and how we are in fact wired for story after millions of years of evolution. So yeah, definitely very helpful. Definitely helps keep your stories page turning and amazing. So really like it. Love everything else she wrote too. Now, I assume that since you're here, you might want to write something speculative, which means something horror, something with monsters, urban fantasy, something like that. So a good resource to add on top of all of these that is specific to those genres is Writing Monsters by Philip Athens. I think I'm saying that right, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it's called How to Craft Believably Terrifying Creatures to Enhance Your Horror, Fantasy, and Science Fiction. So yeah, love this. It always gives me good ideas. And finally, one of my go-tos is the Fantasy Fiction Formula by Deborah Chester. Now, she is the writing teacher for the guy who wrote the Dresden Files, who I really should know his name because he's kind of a big deal, but it's totally escaping me right now. Anyway, really good book. Very, very fantastic if you're going to be writing horror or urban fantasy or lit RPG or anything where there's a monster or some sort of magical element. So, love this. All right. I hope that helps, Josh. I hope it helps you and your daughter get started. Button seat, hands on keyboard, writing that book. I look forward to reading it. So if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments or email me and I will be happy to answer them. And that ends this edition of Ask Me Anything. See you next time. Bye.